At the moment, it's a war of attrition, so actually no one is winning, and it's kind of evenly balanced. But there's two aspects of this. So in the east, the Russians do continue to take ground, albeit very slowly. They have captured the whole of the Luhansk region, so they need to go further forward and get the Donetsk region, and then that encompasses the whole of the Donbass, and that is one of the aims that they had in the war. So they are making progress there, but it is very slow progress, and they are paying a very, very heavy price, both in terms of personnel and the logistics burden. In the south, one of their other just stated objectives is to push and control the whole coastline. So at the moment, they're stopped in Kherson, and it's 330 kilometers to get to Transnistria. So that is probably an impossible task for the Russians. And at the moment, they've actually had to change to defensive operations around Kherson because Ukraine are putting in effective counterattacks there that might be able to break those lines and actually retake Kherson. And the third opportunistic objective, which presented itself during phase 2 of the war, was to defeat the Ukrainian army in the field in the east. And they were unable to achieve that because they were unable to perform maneuver warfare. And essentially, Ukraine has taken a heavy cost, but they have kept their forces largely intact. Almost the whole of the Donbass in the east and this land corridor between Russia proper and Crimea, so a significant portion of the south. Critically in the south, it's the coast, apart from Odessa, which is then blockaded from the Black Sea. So they are actually occupy a lot of territory. However, they don't control it. Control is political. And the way that Russia has prosecuted this war has meant that even the areas that were perhaps more pro-Russian prior to the war are certainly not now. And that means that the burden of the amount of troops that they're going to have to keep in populated areas to maintain control is going to be very, very difficult. And for example, in Kherson, they've already tried about 3 times to hold a sham referendum on joining the Russian Federation because they understand that the conditions are just not there. So actually controlling this territory is going to be very, very difficult for the Russians. For Russia to be able to spin a convincing victory, they would need to achieve their stated objectives, which is the whole of the Donbass and the south, with a land bridge to Crimea. So that could be spun as some form of victory, but it's going to be very difficult to even sustain that because the amount of forces that they need, not just in theatre, but doing pre-deployment training, ready to deploy, and also recuperation. The fighting from the Russian on the side is very brutal. These troops also need a rest, so it's going to be very difficult to actually sustain whatever that victory might look like. For Ukraine, their stated objectives is to retake territory at least to before February 24th, but this is likely to drag on for a long time. And yes, there might be a counteroffensive later this year, but this will be a couple of years to try and take back that territory.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.